YouTube. This is Mahadev the Thunder Wizard. Welcome back to the channel. And I thought today I would go over some basics so that you can become aware of your true essence and your true power, your true purpose being here, which few humans ever really realize. You are designed to be more powerful than the gods. Your physical body is not just the house of your soul. Your physical body is actually a highly crafted, spiritual, technological tool for you to create a portal to the fifth dimension. Okay, so as you know, on this channel, my main goal is to give you practical techniques to help you, get the most out of your life. Really, the only thing that matters, the only thing that has ever mattered is, are you happy, healthy, and prosperous? That's the only thing that matters. Nothing else matters. Nothing. Everything else outside of those three things, happiness, health, and prosperity. Anything outside of that is window dressing. It's meaningless. So if you can focus your life on that and then become very practical about that. If you are aware that what is most important to you is to be happy, healthy, and prosperous, but you don't know how to achieve that, then you must adopt a very practical attitude, which is, I'm going to find and test those things that help me or don't help me. I'm going to learn through my physical interaction with this three-dimensional space-time how I can be the happiest, the healthiest, and the most prosperous I can be. And if you are committed to that, then you will eventually find what you're looking for. But you have to start with a basic assumption. So the assumption that I'm introducing here to you, which I want you to accept at least while you're listening to me talk, is that your original purpose for incarnating in 3D space-time and incarnating inside your physical body is so that you could become more powerful than even the gods. Think of any god you want to imagine, whether it's Jehovah or Zeus or Shiva or Krishna, Freja, Kali, Lakshmi, whomever, Gaia herself, whatever deity you can imagine that to you represents the most powerful being in existence. I want you to now accept the assumption that your purpose is to realize that you are even more powerful than that being. And the whole point of worshiping such a being, people have asked me all the time, they've come out of religion and they say, I'm not going to worship anything. What is this? I get a astrology reading and you're telling me to worship a deity. I'm not going to worship, I'm not going to put anything above myself. Great, I don't think you should. The whole point of worshiping deities is to awaken their essence within you. That's the whole point. And the whole point, and their whole, by the way, any true deity, if a deity has decided to work with you, the entire focus of that deity is to make you more powerful than he or she is. So that is your base assumption. Your base assumption is that the universe is completely committed to having you achieve your highest, most powerful experience of your divinity. So that means that everything that you have been is a tool that can be used. I'm trying to come up with a good example here and nothing's coming to mind, but we'll just stick with what we have, which is your physical body. So if you don't know any better when you're born, you just think your physical body, you come to the awareness that your physical body is the thing that you use to navigate in 3D space-time. And you have to eat to keep it going, you have to sleep to keep it recharged, and then the rest of it is just to move around and ambulate in this environment. And if that's all you know, then it's like, imagine having a horse pulling a car. You've got this brand new Maserati, and you put it in neutral, and then you tie a couple of horses to the front of it, and the horses pull the car around everywhere, and you think the car is just simply a place that you sit and the horses are taking you wherever, until somebody says, no, that car is actually a finely tuned technological piece of equipment that you can use to go really fast and go anywhere you want. And then you learn how to drive the car and you go, oh my God. But if nobody tells you what the car is for, if nobody teaches you how to use the car, then all you're going to do is just use it as a place to sit while the horses are pulling you wherever. And that's kind of what's going on with the human body. The human body is a finely tuned piece of spiritual technology. And its purpose, only, the basic purpose of it is to create a portal between you and higher dimensions. That's just the beginning, the basics of it. So if you haven't been learning how to use all of the tools within your body to achieve connection to a higher dimension, then you're just like that well-meaning, ignorant individual who's tied horses to the front of his Maserati, put it in neutral, and then, having the horses pull him around everywhere he goes. You haven't learned what your body is capable of. So if you realized what you have and somebody could show you how to use it, would you? If you knew that your body was a portal to higher dimensions, would you learn how to use all of the tools within your body to make that happen? If you knew that your physical body was actually finely tuned spiritual technology so that you could become more powerful than the most powerful deity, and the most powerful deities will come to help you become more powerful than they are, would you use it? Well, it first starts with accepting that assumption and knowing that that is the truth about you. So we have multiple systems that various spiritual practices, spiritual disciplines have been tapping into for hundreds and thousands of years. The basic one is what shamans have been doing since, before recorded history, which is being able to go into a meditative state of mind. And they may not even realize it, but what they've been able to do is tap into their pineal gland and been able to transmit their consciousness to other dimensions. They've been able to use the pineal gland as an antenna to be able to receive visions, messages, and information. In some of the oldest stories about shamans go back, it was an Alaskan Native American tribe, if I'm remembering correctly, that was talking about how humans discovered religion. And they said that human beings used to dig in the ground for food, and they dig in the ground to get the roots and the tubers and the worms and the whatever. And then they learned how to use shamanic ability. And they then used their shamanic ability to know where the animals were so that they could be guided in where they were going to hunt. Now, the thing that's amazing about that is that just sounds like an interesting story, except if we accept that story, it means that understanding of shamanism is going back millions of years. Because before human beings learned how to use fire, they didn't eat copious amounts of meat. They weren't very smart. They dug around in the ground and they, grabbed whatever fruits they could find and worms for protein or whatever else. But it wasn't until they learned how to use fire that then they started cooking meat and eating lots of meat, which then the human brain responded by getting much bigger, because the brain needs a lot of nutrition, a lot of calories, a lot of protein. Otherwise, your brain just doesn't work very well. So what they're talking about is that they first learned how to tap into this spiritual power for a very specific survival reason, which was so that they could find out where the herds of animal were, because now they learned how to cook meat. So they could cook meat and eat it and get lots of protein. So what we're talking about here is that the evolution of human beings goes hand in hand with their spiritual evolution, and that's why shamanism is still such a very powerful practice that's done all over the world, because it is a spiritual practice that allows you to evolve. You can't be a human without meeting that need, and this is something that modern humans have lacked for hundreds, if not thousands of years. We have denied that part of ourselves, and as a result, not only our mental but spiritual evolution has become very stagnant, to where we live now in a state where people, how many people in the world don't have any connection to anything spiritual? They believe that they're just a bunch of chemical reactions. Science wants to tell you that your emotions is just chemical reactions in your brain. It doesn't mean anything, that you don't have any real essence, that the moment that you die, all the chemical reactions will stop and you will cease to exist. You can't come to that conclusion unless you've been separated from the practical realities of your spiritual nature for a very long time. Religion came along, especially monotheist religion came along something like 2,500 years ago, starting with the first monotheists. And then you came to have this thwarted idea that your whole reason for existing is to please some other tyrannical, narcissistic, higher being out there somewhere who made you for their own personal pleasure, their own narcissistic pleasure, and they can throw you in hell or make you miserable or do whatever the hell they want because you're just a thing for them to use. And here again, we see human beings being guided away from their original design. Your original design is to, while in this third dimensional pressure cooker, take that and have it drive you toward self-awareness on a spiritual level. So in order to accomplish this feat, before you became human, you designed this amazing body, and you gave it many different pathways and technologies to tap into these higher dimensional awarenesses. Because if human beings, followed their original intent and programming, which was to, once you come into existence, to be educated into your true essence as a being of light, that you are, that somebody helps you to remember. Ideally, little kids usually remember. Little kids and toddlers remember themselves. And there's no shortage of stories of little kids, coming to their parents and saying, I remember when I was with God. I remember before I came here what I was like. And then they get to be 5, 6, 7 years old and they forget. This is very common. Or little kids will remember their past lives that they lived before they came here, and then when they get, again, around 6, 7 years of age, they forget. So if we had, a society where parents would encourage their children to continue to remember their essence and then teach them to use the technology within their body, which are the 7 chakras, the 3 energy centers or the 3 dantians, the 5 organs, which are actually ways to attract and intensify the 5 elements. 5 organs, major organs in the body, are where you refine the powers of the 5 elements in a meditative sense. But if you never get trained doing that, if you're not even given that assumption or given that understanding, then you just think that you're there to eat and poop and procreate and not die. And, you haven't really awakened to anything. You're basically an animal. And as the Hopis have said, we are moving now out of the age of the animal into the age of the human being. So the age of the human being is where the soul takes complete prominence, not the intellect. And the soul is using all of these technologies, using the 7 chakras to become aware of the 7 lokas, or the 7 regions of conscious awareness, using all of the meridians in the body, using chi, using kundalini, allowing the kundalini, which is the 5th dimensional consciousness, to rise up through the chakras. So when you have all of these things working at the same time, then you have somebody who's actually in training to become more powerful than the gods themselves. And if we want to focus on shifting into this next dimensional awareness that we seem to be in, this awakening event that is currently going on, then it behooves us to use this technology to help that process along. Because the only thing that will happen if we don't take advantage of this technology that our body provides us, the 7 chakras, all of the meridians in the body, the 5 organs, kundalini, chi, the lightning center of the heart, which, as you know, I'm one of the only few people in the world that even have revealed this publicly. When we use all of these tools, then our focus is about becoming a god in the flesh, which was our entire purpose to begin with. And the reason we are in such a state as we are, that the world is as screwed up as it is, and the reason why people allow themselves to be controlled by a very small, very powerful psychopathic group of narcissists, is because they are completely unaware of the power that they have. And it's obvious that if your goal is to awaken to your power, which is greater than the gods, and make no mistake, the gods look upon you with envy because they know that you have an ability, because of your opportunity as being human, you have an ability to use these technologies to increase your power and awareness beyond even that of the gods. And they are envious because they're still aware, and they think to themselves, man, if I could just be him, I could accomplish, unbelievable amounts of self-awareness and power. And how sad it is that these humans don't have any idea who they are. I believe it was in the 50s, but it's somebody now that, as I understand, may have passed away, I don't know, but has worked with Dr. Stephen Greer, the guy who's working hard to help bring real disclosure to the world about extraterrestrials. I don't remember this doctor's name, but he said that he was working for the government, and he was brought in to try and heal these wounded extraterrestrials that had been shot down. had been shot down by us, and they were injured. And so these guys were doing their best trying to sew them up and fix them and, keep them alive. And this doctor said that this alien telepathically said to him, to both of them, I think there was more than one doctor there, but the alien telepathically sent a message to them, which they both heard very clearly, which was, I feel so sorry for you humans because you don't realize the potential that you have and how incredibly powerful you can be if you just chose to. And that is exactly 100% the truth. Human beings, this entire earth creation was brought into existence so that very advanced souls could take use, could come inside these bodies and connect to all of this spiritual technology and make use of it, to be able to funnel life force energy, to be able to funnel Kundalini consciousness, higher dimensional energy, and to be able to use the three dantians, to use the pineal gland, to use the nervous system, to use the spinal column, to use all of the energy meridians in the body through meditation, through energy work, through mantra, through yoga, through other, all the things that have been developed. By using these technologies and using these techniques, we were designed to be the most advanced place in the multiverse. This was designed to be the place where all the other planets and all the other civilizations were to look up to us because of the power that we were able to tap into. But because we forgot who we were, which is one of the things that happens when you incarnate, and because we allowed our fear, we allowed our narcissism to take over and turn us into animals, basically just into chimpanzees. We are evolved from, some type of being that's very similar to chimpanzees. But instead of, chimpanzees don't have all the things that we do. I don't think they have chakras. I don't think they have kundalini. I don't think they have access to that. They're animals. They might be very smart animals, but, left to it, they will kill you, tear you to pieces. They're extremely volatile animals. They're very violent. And we have chosen to listen to that part of our DNA instead of choosing to listen to the part of us that is designed to be a portal. So that, unfortunately, is the failure of this Earth experiment. The whole idea was that if souls could come into human bodies and overcome the pressure, the three-dimensional isolation and the fear and the pressure that is put on them, if they could use that to overcome by using their spiritual technologies, their chakras, their nervous system, their kundalini, their pineal gland, their meditative powers, your inborn shamanic abilities, your intuition. If you were able to use that, then you could use that, the pressure cooker that we're in, to accelerate. So this is what's important about that. The pressure and the challenge that we feel as humans is actually meant to accelerate the spiritual growth that happens within us. So this is why people turn to spirituality when their life becomes difficult. Because look, people unfortunately don't do anything unless they have to. They don't change unless they have to. And if you're born into this human body and you just follow your basic instincts for, procreation and taking care of your physical body, which is has transformed into the desire for money, wanting to have money, wanting to have a career, wanting to have a house. That's really a desire just to be taken care of on a physical level, but it's been intellectualized, and people, their entire lives are about that. Having money, having a house, having reputation, having a good job, being a good person and squeezing out a couple of kids. It still blows my mind how many people have to have children. That still blows my mind. I mean, I don't know many people like me that have made the decision not to have them. And I decided not to have them for a few different reasons, but there are people, I mean, most people, they just can't help themselves. They have to have kids for some reason I haven't figured out. They're just so driven by their biology and or their need to fit into society. When are you going to have kids? What if I don't want to have kids? What's wrong with that? So point being, I'm not trying to bag on people who've had kids. I don't understand it. I mean, I get it up here, but it's not something I personally want. I'm happy to play with your kids for 5 or 10 minutes, and then I get to go home, to a house, without all of that craziness. But the point I'm trying to make is that unless you're put under some kind of pressure, you won't want to go beyond that basic animal human drive to procreate, have a job and have money and, all of that. So unfortunately, the experiment didn't work out the way we were hoping. We, meaning you and me both. We all wanted this. We all were trying to get this to happen, and it didn't work. So let's talk a little bit about what all of these systems do. So let's talk about the one that people know the most, which is the chakra system. The minimum 7 chakras that you have on your body, like this individual here. People have a misunderstanding about what chakras do. People think if they open chakras that they'll be able to gain some kind of powers and all that, and this is a misunderstanding. The chakras are projection points of consciousness. And if your chakra has opened, let's say the throat chakra, if the throat chakra has opened, it means that your consciousness is aligned with your speech. If your heart chakra has opened and is balanced, because not only do they have to open, but they have to be aligned. And the truth is that chakras are, they're usually not perfectly aligned, which means you're out of balance, which means there are lessons that you need to learn. So if we go up the chakras here, the root chakra is about physical security. So if somebody has issues with their root chakra, it means they're going to have issues around their physical security. They're going to have their physical space, their physical body, the things. This is why little kids go through a period of saying mine, mine, and they take everything and they become very selfish. It's because their root chakra is trying to align itself. And when you realize that you are connected to something greater than yourself, just even if you look at, the way nature works, nature is constantly giving. Fruits are coming off the trees, plants are growing, there's always something, nature is giving you something. And when you realize that the only thing you need is what you can consume in one day, then now your root chakra will be aligned, and you'll realize that security isn't about how much stuff you have. If your sacral chakra, your sexual chakra is not opened, you won't be aware of your individuality. You will be connected to mommy and daddy. So this is why children, when they go through puberty, they become rebellious. The rebellion is them differentiating themselves from their parents. So they start to get a superficial identity of their own. And that's why music is constantly changing, and why the young kids' music, and why, as whatever it is, if you're 10 years older than whoever's, going through high school, they're going to tell you that your music is old and theirs is better, and, because they've got to do their own thing. And that's why, by the way, this is one of my favorite observations that I've had. This has been true since I was a kid, is that whenever a pop song becomes number one, don't listen to the words and you just listen to the tune. It's a children's, nursery rhyme. It'll have a sing-songy nursery rhyme to it. They might use different instruments that are cool and hip, but the actual song itself is just a nursery rhyme. That's why it gets stuck in your head. And what it means is that, if you're a pubescent teenager, you're not that you're not that deep of a thinker yet, and it's very sexualized. But you're making your way. You're moving out. So the sexual chakra is really about learning how to connect to yourself and connect to others beyond your family unit. And if you're out of balance there, it's going to cause you all kinds of problems. So then we move up to the navel center. The navel center, if somebody becomes really controlling, it means that their navel center hasn't opened yet. Because the navel center is where you really start to find your personal identity, your personal strength, your boundaries. Your boundaries are going to come from your navel. By the way, people get the navel and the, the solar plexus mixed up. The solar plexus is not your navel. The solar plexus is not your heart. Solar plexus is right here where the ribs come up. There's a spot right here below the heart and above the navel. And it's not a chakra. It drives me crazy when people talk about the solar plexus chakra. It means they don't understand what there's. Drives me crazy. So you have a navel chakra, which is your navel. That is your personal power. That is your identity. If that's out of alignment, you're going to be controlling, you're going to be domineering, you're going to be insecure, you're going to be a bully, or you're not going to have any boundaries. Then you move up past the solar plexus to the heart center. And the heart center is an interesting chakra because it really is the center of everything. So somebody who is operating spiritually, you can't operate spiritually if your heart chakra is not empowered. Because it's like the nexus point of all the energy coming down and the energy coming up. It hits the heart center and expands outward. And this is where your soul is. And if your heart center isn't opened, of course, you're going to be unloving, you're going to be selfish, you're going to be impatient, you're going to be intolerant. You're going to have all those problems from not having an open heart chakra. But if it's not aligned, if your chakra is not aligned, then you could be a religious nutbag. One of the ways that the heart chakra matures is that people go through religious awakenings and then they want everybody to come to their church. So whenever, somebody shows up at your door, the Mormons or the born-again Christians or the whoever else, whatever cult comes to your door, knocking on your door, would you like to know the true gospel? Come to our church. It means that their heart chakra is not aligned. Because they believe that, on the one hand, their heart chakra is working because they're wanting to connect to others. Because the heart chakra wants to love and connect to all consciousness. And people start to do that when they connect to God. But if they're not aligned, then they start to think that you have to come into their group so that they can connect with you. And they don't realize that you have your own journey, your own path, and then they evolve beyond that. They're not as superficial and childish that way. Then you get up here to the throat. And the throat is where you speak your truth. And this is where teachers are found. Teachers will at the very least, their Kundalini will at the very least be here in the throat. The throat chakra says, I'm not going to find God in church. I'm not going to find God in a temple. I'm not going to find God in yoga class with other people. I'm going to find God alone on the mountaintop. It's me and the universe, and I'm going to find the essence of the universe on the mountaintop, and I'm going to meditate. And then as they're working through that, they speak the truth that comes to them. That's how they evolve beyond that. Because they're going beyond that aspect of self-awareness, and they're trying to get here to the third eye. And in order to do that, they have to unload all of the truth that they're finding out. And this is, the person who's sitting on the mountaintop, and all of the people climb up to the mountain to hear the words of the guru. Well, his throat is open. So they come to hear him speak and teach. And then when you get up here to the third eye, now you're connecting to your pineal gland, which gives you the ability to see. And that doesn't mean see auras or anything like that, although that's possible. That's really not what this third eye is about. The third eye is about being able to know things. For example, somebody whose third eye is open, you could give them if it's a spiritual mythology, a mythological story from a spiritual path they've never heard of. As long as it's a real, something that was channeled and put into some mythological story, you could hand them that and they could read it and they could immediately tell you what it means, even though nobody's taught them the meaning behind it. That's somebody whose third eye is open. They have knowledge and awareness that goes beyond the intellectual, beyond the superficial. They can see into the essence of things, not with their eyes or, through auras or anything like that, but just they can see and feel and know. That's really what this third eye is about. And then this crown chakra here is the ability to connect to all things without having an identity, without being a separate individual. That's what all these chakras are about. It's not about opening a chakra so you can have power, to be able to do things, to be able to see things and do things. That's childishness. Trying to get superpowers is good, because if that selfishness leads you towards doing spiritual disciplines so you can get connected to the technology within you so that you can become a portal for the infinite, great. But you'll eventually go past that, and you'll realize that the power and the gifts and the spiritual gifts, you'll realize those are all meaningless. In fact, they're as much a trap as anything. I can tell you from personal experience, not only myself, but masters and teachers that I've known who have allowed their identity become attached to whatever spiritual powers they have awakened within them, and then they never get beyond that. And sometimes it makes them sick. I've seen spiritual teachers who had powers end up getting very sick with cancer. And, it's because they lost sight of, this wasn't about any of that. It was about expanding yourself. So this is what we are designed to be. This is what we are designed to do. And a human being who comes here, ideally, if you're not going after some spiritual discipline like yoga or meditation or mantra or qigong or whatever it is that you choose to do, then the experience of life itself should expand you beyond your animal identity, your human identity, and into something greater than what you are. And then you get to become a conduit. And if you do that, all of the chakras open and all of the meridians open. So you can either go after it like I do in a very practical way, working on doing the energy work to open all of these things up and then have that expand you. Or if you're lucky, you'll be able to expand through your personal experience, and then all these things will get opened by themselves. But then we come to the majority of humans. The majority of humans, unfortunately, get trapped in their identity. They get trapped in the avatar that they've chosen. And that is a very painful way to live. They live in a continuous state of remembering and reacting to their identity being damaged by other people. They never are allowed to, or they don't allow themselves to accept the assumption that they are already a deity and they've come here to remember and expand their divine power. They never even get to that first assumption because they're still, on the hamster wheel of their fake identity. We all come here with these fake identities. We become so-and-so, whatever your name is, wherever you were born, that becomes your identity. And it's not, it's a costume. It's a costume that your soul wears so you can play this drama out and learn who you are. So, we walked through the chakras. I won't take up your time with the three dantians and the 5 elements. I talk about that, by the way. If you're new to the channel, please be aware that my channel has hundreds, if not thousands, of videos on it. And I have videos on there that talk about the 5 organs in the body and how they're used to tap into the elements, the energy of the 5 elements, and how you can transmit the power of the 5 elements through your body. You want to really gain some power, learn about how to tap into the power of the 5 elements and transmit that. I talk about the 3 dantians, I talk about the 8 directions, I talk about all that stuff, but in order for you to learn that, you're going to have to do some digging. You're either going to have to learn how to search within the channel. If you're absolutely, totally bent on not coming out of pocket $5 or $10, then you're going to have to do the work on the channel and look for the videos. So you're going to have to learn how to search my channel. You can go on to Amazon, Kindle, Audible, and find my books. Thunder Shamanism, Awakening Sleipnir, Mounting Sleipnir. All of those books I talk about, all kinds of stuff like this. You can subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Challenge, which will not only give you a practice, but then you can go into the older videos and you can learn the Mastery of Shamanism, which is available for you there. You can learn the Manifestation Mastery course, and of course the Lightning Qigong, all of those other, and more. I have poured all of my knowledge and all of my life's study and work into all of that. My books, this channel, the thunderwizard.com site. So if you're on here and you don't know what I'm talking about, if all I'm doing is I'm just talking about it, and you want to have a personal experience, then you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to do a discipline. And it's not about being perfect. It's just about doing one of these energy disciplines every day. And it's also very likely you're going to need to interact with a teacher, because it's going to be impossible for you to get out of your identity, the costume that you've worn, without having a teacher to work with. So I recommend, if you're on this channel, if you're lost, you're in pain, you want to know what I'm talking about, to be able to awaken to your true power and know that you are a deity, to remember past lives, to remember your true power and your essence, then you're going to have to do some work. At the very least, I recommend doing interdimensional meditation. Some interesting things are happening. I'm getting more and more people contacting me saying that they had a dream and were led to my channel. Something in a dream told them to come to my channel and learn something, learn energy work or meditation or something like that. And that is because we're coming to the end of this. We're coming to the end of this human experiment, and people are going to need to have access to these tools. Because when the shift occurs, and I still don't know if the shift is going to be this particular Earth or if the earth is going to shift into a different octaves. But if you shift up to a higher octave in the new awakening, a different earth, it's going to be in your best interest if you have access to the technology within you, because then at that level, I guarantee you, if what some people are saying and what I believe, I may have been given some information from higher dimensional beings that this might be the case, that the earth is going to shift energetically, and there's going to be at least 2 octaves of earth. There's going to be a lower octave of this, which I wouldn't want to have any part of, and there's going to be a higher octave. And in that higher octave, people are not going to be operating from their animal self anymore. They're going to be operating from their spiritual essence. So that's the good news. It will be very helpful for you if you already have access to how to interact with these technologies, your chakra system, your kundalini, your heart center. I believe that in the higher octave version of Earth, people are really going to start to learn about the heart mind, or the lightning energy of the heart. That's going to be like the new kundalini. You know, in the third dimension, kundalini is the big giant awareness energy. I believe in the higher octave, it's going to be the heart mind that people are going to be, going after the way people go after kundalini now. Because in the third dimension, when people go after this lightning center energy, which I teach in the Maoshan energy practices, I experienced this, and a lot of people, when they first experience it, it's a very intense energy. It's very blissful. The energy is the power is very blissful. But then what ends up happening is that you have to deal with your unresolved emotions very quickly, and it can be, more than a lot of people want to handle. But I believe in that higher octave, I believe that's going to be where people are going to want to go. They're going to want to get that experience. I don't know that for a fact. That's just my prediction. We'll see. So before I get into looking at this, if you want to ask a question, I'm only interested in answering questions from people who are subscribers. Reason for that is that, as you saw, a lot of people ask questions. They're newbies, they're looky-loos, and I get frustrated because people obviously haven't watched the channel, they haven't read the books, and they're not subscribed, and they're not doing the practices, so their questions are mostly extremely ignorant and irrelevant of what we teach on this channel. So that's okay if you're new to the channel, you're not supposed to know everything, but I would like for you to put some time and effort into actually watching and studying and learning, so that you can ask relevant questions that stimulate me to want to share. And if there isn't anybody with any questions, I'm happy to move on, but that's what I want. Questions only from people who are current subscribers to the 90-day challenge. Having said that, let's take a look and see what's going on here. Cats and Me has an honest feeling, and I believe she is a subscriber. She says, I'm watching in horror as I'm regressing, but I feel like I can't stop myself like I want to, but I feel trapped in my own avatar, and this makes me sad and horrified. So that's just a feeling. This is where a teacher comes in. And let me guess, you don't have one, right? You don't have a mentor, you don't have a teacher. So this is where a teacher is good, because a teacher is like a mirror. You can come to them with all of those, and they'll say, that's just a feeling. That's normal. And they tell you, listen, just don't respond to that impulse. Respond to the impulse that you want to become. But what ends up happening, and you hear me say it all the time, is that people ask me the same question. They say, how can I get over my fear of... And I always say the same thing. I said, when did I ever say you were supposed to get over your fear? So get used to having a lot of feelings. Transformation, those movies where people, transform into werewolves, that's accurate. Not the wolf part, but, when you shift, it's painful. That's what it feels like. And it's part of what's supposed to happen. But you've been trained as a human being, you've been trained to be a slave to your impulses and to your feelings. And people think I need to feel a certain way in order to act a certain way. And it's not true. This is, basic, we all need to do it. Human beings are now in a space where we all need to mature. And a mature person has all of their feelings. They're not in denial. They're not suppressing their feelings. They allow themselves all their feelings, but they take actions based on what they know is constructive for themselves and for others. And in between, when you're making that transition and you're awakening, you don't know, because it becomes intolerable not to act on the impulses and the feelings that go through you. And part of awareness is going through that. Dying to yourself is a painful thing. So you say you're regressing, so you're seeing yourself act. I'm assuming you say you're seeing yourself acting destructively towards yourself and towards others. And all that is an action. And if you choose to, you make the decision not to act destructively. You choose not to act on those feelings of regression. More than likely, you won't be able to do that alone. You're going to need some help. I also recommend, doing the 12-step process to 5D that I've been uploading. Do that. Do the 4th step. Do steps 1 through 3, but anyway, I only know what I'm reading there, and that's what I see as I read that. And I'm not seeing any questions here. Yeah, your dream, cats and me, is not, that's your fear. So there's basically 3 kinds of dreams. There's most people's dreams are your brain is just replaying, the data from the day. If you remembered every single one of your dreams, if you spent, all day in a car, there's going to be a huge chunk of your dreams where you're in a car. You're not going to remember it because your brain is just getting rid of a bunch of information it doesn't need, and it holds on to the stuff it wants to remember, so you have dreams like that. Second kind of dream, most common, is going to be your fears and your fantasies. That's where you dream you're being attacked by evil, demons that want to eat your soul, and you wake up screaming. It's just a fear. It's just some unconscious fear. Or you dream that you're, marrying 3 bikini model, and you're whatever. That's just your fantasy. So your fears and your fantasies is another kind of dream. And then the third one is an actual spiritual dream where you're traveling outside of your body, interacting on other levels and other dimensions with other beings. So what you just described is your fear. As somebody that you see as a teacher, even though you're not my actual student, you obviously see me that way. Your unconscious mind is now playing out your daddy issues. And this is about daddy not approving of you. Because I have no personal interaction with you. I don't even know who you are. There's just a name there. I don't even know who you are. So I can promise you I didn't implant a device on you and then reject you for some reason. And again, this is why it's good to have a teacher to help you walk through that. Yeah. I don't see any questions, so I guess we're done. Anyway, that's it, guys. For me personally, the interdimensional activity has slowed down to almost nothing. And I don't know why that is. I find it interesting because there's a ton of stuff going on behind the scenes. There's huge, massive things. Maybe the ET's got better things to do than deal with me, or maybe they're giving me breaks for whatever is coming. So I thought I'd go back to just some basics here. But as always, my recommendation right now, because of what is going on, all this nonsense going on with the hearings. By the way, what you're being fed in these so-called hearings is not disclosure. It is 100% conflation, half-truths, and outright lies. I've talked about it already, but it means that something huge is coming, and whether or not that's a pleasant or an unpleasant huge thing, I don't know. Eventually it'll be a good thing for those of us that shift up, But just keep your eyes peeled, because I think over the next 2 or 3 months, things are going to start going haywire. I'm happy to be wrong about it. All right. That's it then, guys. That's all for me. Again, if you want what I have, you got to do what I do. And watching videos is not it. So I recommend that you do the work. Thunderwizard.com, scroll around, subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. If you want access to the highest, most powerful energy practice, I believe, that ever walked the earth, you can go here to maoshan.thunderwizard.com and do the 5-element spirit fighting exercises. It's the most powerful energy practice I know of, and so I offer that to you. And of course, anything having to do with, if you want a Vedic astrological reading or a rune reading, or if you want to see the certifications, the other videos, the other teachings that I have, go to courses.thunderwizard.com, click around. And please, if you've read any of my books, I need you to go on to Amazon and write a review. Actually take the time to write a sentence or two, leave an honest review. And if you see other reviews that you like, click the helpful button. You'll see a little button, helpful, not helpful. What happens is the reviews that get the most clicks on helpful become the most important. Right now, what's happening is that because there was only one guy that left a review on my Extraterrestrials Come to Earth, and he was a troll, he's now the first thing that pops up, and it says most relevant. And that's because nobody's taken the time to actually write reviews. So please write reviews on the books that you've read. If you haven't read my books, you can see here my name, Michael William Denny, written here on Interdimensional Revolution. Just look me up on Amazon. Interdimensional Revolution, Extraterrestrials Are Coming to Earth. I think these are probably the two most important, as well as the Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. If you haven't read those books, I encourage you to read them. They're inexpensive. It doesn't cost you almost nothing to read or listen to them. So it's worth it. Put your, it's important information. If you master what's in the Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life, you won't need anything else. If you master that one tiny book, read that book and read it over and over again and do what it says and learn how to master it. And then if you need to, get yourself a teacher. Have somebody that you can talk to and work these things out with. All right, that's it. I'm done. Thanks, guys, for showing up. I love you all, and I will see you all very soon. Keep your eyes peeled, stay safe, and stay aware.